Hello, and welcome to episode 175 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian,
And I'm James.
and he's better than last week. This is a post-flu game, but he's still not 100%.
Yeah, it's been a rough week. It's been a very long week.
Lots of naps.
I'm not typically a napper at all. If I take a nap, I'm usually shot the rest of the day. I think every single day I have taken a nap on my lunch break. So, if that tells you anything.
So we are going to talk about kind of like the death of Standard, or it's murdering.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really know what to talk about this week. And I thought that was weird, and that kind of got my gears turning because we're like in the midst of a spoiler season, and I don't care.
Well, it is for a Commander product.
And right, but we're not going to get anything else until September.
Well, for Standard.
Right, which is what we normally cover. So it kind of got me thinking that, let's do a show about that, because I don't think I've heard anybody talk about this yet.
Yeah. So if you want to get at us on social media, all of the links are in the description, so you get at us there. Say hi. We usually do a pretty good job of responding.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a link for a Discord down there, Twitter, Facebook, however you want to get at us, get at us. If you want to support the show, we got a couple ways to do that. You can use our TCG Player affiliate link if you're buying any, singles or sealed product or whatever. TCG Player has usually the best prices since they're like a marketplace and, everybody kind of competes for your business. I know I usually order through TCG Player, even like before we had an affiliate link. That's usually where I ordered. I think you ordered there a lot also.
Yeah.
But use that link. We'll get a percentage of whatever you purchased. Help keep the show going. It's tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Just follow that link to get to TCG Player. As long as you don't leave the page, it doesn't matter what you do after that. As long as that's how you navigated to TCG Player, we'll get credit for the sale, and we would appreciate it. If you guys want to support us a little bit more directly, very directly, you can do so at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. Chip a couple bucks in, goes right to us, helps support the show, pay all our fees, lets us do some give back stuff for the community, and generally makes life easier for us. So we would appreciate that. Patrons get access to our show notes. They get access to our pre-show, which is usually about an hour, maybe a little bit more, kind of just more of us. Usually pretty unscripted, off the cuff, unedited, just raw us. So if you want more of us, you can't get enough of us. There's more of us on Patreon. We also have our YouTube channel, Casual Tryhard MTG on YouTube. Brian's been posting up a bunch of draft videos, although I think those are probably coming to an end soon.
I think last Friday was draft 22.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to do any more. I feel like I should do more because I don't have that many packs, but I also don't want to draft blue-white again.
Yeah.
Time
to move
not
on.
Draft blue-white and get clowned.
And if you listen to our pre-show, maybe we're kind of going to do something else on YouTube. We'll see if that happens or not. And, with the topic of today's episode, I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But check our YouTube channel out. When we post up anything there, if you're, subscribed and you click the bell or whatever, it'll notify you. And stuff goes up there not really on a schedule. So it's kind of best if you subscribe and then just look for the notifications. So make sure you check that out. Surprise!
Yeah, subscribe and then hit that bell icon. I learned that.
Yep, there you go.
Hit that bell icon.
I guess the one thing that we will keep doing on YouTube is our weekly podcasts that we now record video for and post up, so you can look at our smiling faces and, whatever random images I decide to put up on the screen. You can check that out as another way to get your us fix. And the last announcement thing that I have is our next tournament. We're going to do Explorer Pauper. That'll be June 11th at 8 p.m. East Coast time. It's on MTG Melee. You can head over there to check out details. Free tournament. Come sign up. Play some Explorer Pauper with the rest of us. I'll try and, send a swag pack out or something to whoever wins. But, yeah. check it out on MTG Melee. There's details there. There's details in our Discord about it as well. Yeah, I think that's about it.
So, you have here a plea, which is interact with us, please.
Yeah, so I figured this would be a good place to start, and then we'll roll into like the actual topic of the show, because they're kind of related. I told you guys that I didn't really know what we were going to talk about this week, so it got me thinking about like what's happening in Magic right now and what's happening over the summer, and a little bit about what we talked about last week. And we're now 175 episodes into this show, right? We've been doing this for coming up on 4 years, I guess.
We're just past 3. Like we're like three and
a half
quarter?
Or something. Yeah,
we're getting there.
Something like that. And we've grown a lot. Like we have way more listeners than we did when we started. I think our show's way better than it was when we started. We're doing more stuff. We're doing videos now. And we've kind of fallen into like a content creation rhythm where a set comes out, we do like our set review episode, then we'll do like a limited episode. We'll talk about some new deck archetypes, and it kind of repeats. Like we do the same few episodes like over, 4 times a year or whatever, with, some random stuff here and there. But really all that we cover are like main set releases. Like occasionally we'll do a supplemental product like a Modern Horizons or something, but typically we don't cover like the Commander sets or Commander decks or like stuff supplement like Masters sets. There's really no point in covering Masters sets, you know what I mean? So we don't really cover the supplemental products. And if you listen to last week's show, we kind of broke down Wizards' like release schedule for the summer, or like lack thereof, or whatever you want to call it. And it's
simultaneously a lack of releases and an overload of releases. It's very weird.
Yeah, very strange. So like we're not going to get another set that we would normally cover until September, which is going to kind of make content creation weird, at least for us, for like what we have been doing, the kind of show that we have been doing. So I don't know like what we should do. My initial thought and like how I started thinking about this episode is that like I don't care about universes beyond Commander Legends, Baldur's Gate to whatever, so I wouldn't typically like cover that set. Or the completely different yet thematically tied arena product with digital only cards normally would not be something we would cover.
Yeah.
But if we don't like do those things, we're not going to have another set to cover until September.
And another reason to not like have us jump into like the Commander product pool is you have some Commander experience, but I don't think you'd call yourself a Commander player.
No.
I have 3 unopened Commander decks that contain Kappa Cannoneers, and I have 1 unopened Commander deck that is the blue-green guy that lets you draw an extra card when you play a land. AC. And I have some cards for perhaps making that deck a realish deck, but I think about it like, oh, I should do that. Then I don't.
Right.
So like, it's not like we're gonna be your go-to people for like the hottest Commander tech.
Right.
It's like, I don't know, does it cost like 8 mana? It's probably really good for you to cast. So you should probably do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there you go. There's my Commander insight. So yeah, there's, as we've talked about in other contexts, right? There's a lot of Magic products that aren't for us.
More and more. Seems like every year, more and more.
And so it's hard for us to talk about products and like, hey, what cards look good from this when they're not products for us.
Right.
And, we've done a lot of like playing in paper things, and we kind of refreshed that in the fall. And part of what we're going to talk about, and part of what we brought up in the pre-show is like, I don't know how many people are playing in paper.
I have no idea.
Make that a useful thing.
Right.
So, I could definitely. We could definitely talk cube updates. We can just do like Brian updates the cube.
Yeah.
Because there's always a cube update happening. But I figure after a while you'd be like, stop. Don't care about your cube. Stop it.
Well, and like that's part of it also is, you know, we've talked about on the show a couple times now, like how you engage with the game has changed significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And like more and more lately, it's like finding ways to engage with the game that aren't playing it. And that's a really weird thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, I play this game, but I don't play it.
Yeah, like,
I'm involved with it, but I don't play it.
I've not used real cards in a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
And Gavin is still too young to to play with me.
Up.
Yeah,
really thick sleeves.
He oh gosh, top loaders.
Yeah.
Just like hard plastic top loaders. He got his very first Pokemon card. It lasted about 2 minutes before until he bent it in half. I took him to the shop to buy some cards from the most recent set that got like screwed up in my TCG order.
Yeah.
And he ran around one of the aisles.
Yeah.
And then he's super sneaky. He like hid. Like I was like, where did he go? And he like ducked down and hid. So I couldn't see him. I had to like come around. And he was laughing at me because I was like, Gavin, where you at? Where you at? And then, oh gosh, what's his name? The guy working was like, do you want to give him a card? Like, here, take my Pokemon card. So he got an Executor that he like is mangled in the back of my car now. So he's too far away from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I haven't used like real cards in a long time.
Yeah. It's been a while.
So we need ideas. What do you want to hear about? Like, what are you interested in?
Yeah, I mean, do you guys want us to cover sets that we might not be interested in? I don't know that that's going to make for like super engaging content. So, I mean, if you guys want to hear about it, like, I guess we can do that. But.
And it's like, it's hard, like, you know, for like the Baldur's Gate set, like, oh, hey, like what card should you buy? And it's like, I can tell you what reprints you should buy, or like, you know, maybe what card might see play in Legacy or whatever, but like I don't know enough about Commander to be like, oh, that card is going to be like a staple in every Commander deck.
Yeah.
I mean, we could going forward, like when they release a Master set, do like, hey, these are the cards you should target. Like we could do that, but that's like, what, 30 minutes of like, hey, these are the cards that are probably worth buying.
Yeah. And like ideally, you know, the ideas that we're kind of looking for aren't just like one-off episode ideas either, because like we're going to talk about in the rest of this episode, I think this is going to be more standard than like abnormal. So like if there's like a recurring thing that you guys can think of that you want us to talk about, like that would be awesome.
Yeah, like we're like part of why we did the show, we've talked about this before, is like because it's something we enjoyed.
Yeah.
And like they're turning it into work. They're just like, you know, we're not just gonna give you, because remember, so if you think way back, right, when we started doing this, what was the stuff we talked about? What happened on the SCG tour?
Yep.
The weekend before, like what decks were good.
Yeah,
like
we used to do tournament coverage. Not
tournament
coverage, but like recaps.
Yeah. You know, what tournaments are we preparing for? What decks are we playing and why?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we did stuff like that, and it's like, like, you know, I have spent money on Arena, but I'm like so jaded to like remain like free to play. I'm just like, oh, you want me to spend how many drafts? This is how I think about things on Arena. You want how many drafts for me to play this one event?
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Like I could play for free, or I could like try to get like 1/20th of what I need for a free entry to an event.
Yeah.
I'll just save my money for that one entry if I want to do it. Okay, cool. Done.
Yeah.
So, like, those things have gone away. So if there's something that you're like, hey, I'd be really interested in hearing, like, you know, X, Y, or Z. And like I said, like, if you were like, I care about the cube, tell us what your updates are after every, like, set release. Fine.
We could totally do that.
Yeah, that's like 20 minutes.
Right.
And, you know, when we get that sweet stance.com a sponsorship, they're gonna want more than 20 minutes. I should probably email them. You've never heard of a stamps.com. But our listeners mail stuff.
A lot.
Yep. All of that gets us to kind of our main topic and perhaps like a bigger thesis that, as you said, no one's really talked about. Has Wizards of the Coast just given up on Standard?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of alluded to it last week, but that was really all we did. And I was really surprised that after all the announcements and like dust has settled, I'm kind of surprised that like the professor or PK or like anybody really hasn't said anything about this.
I thought it was, what got me is weird. And again, maybe it's because I just had my head like the wrong rotation time, right? Is like, so Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, has been talking about cards he wanted to like rotate. And then, oh, hey, after New Capenna, like all these cards are going to rotate with the next set. And then like the next set is 6 months away and he hasn't been like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm stuck with these cards for 6 more months. It was like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like just no one has been like, whoa, we're just not doing a summer release. Weird.
Yeah.
And like next summer might do the same thing.
Yeah, like Wizards has kind of shown us that they're kind of throwing all, I don't know what you want, like regularity out the window.
There are no more sacred cows.
Yeah.
Like the 4 sets 3 months apart, give or take.
Yeah.
In a year, gone. Because what are we doing in the fall? We're doing Dominaria United, and then like 8 weeks later, we're doing
Brothers War.
Brothers War.
Yep.
And as opposed to doing, I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing they did this year. They're going to be like 8 weeks later, they're going to be like, here's whatever the next set is. Like whatever it was, like oatmeal or Oreo or whatever it was.
So Can I drop another one on you real quick?
Sure.
We're like halfway done with this master track.
Yes, we are.
This mastery track is only 70 levels. So it's a short one.
Because they're treating the like Baldur's Gate release on Arena like the actual release.
Right. So
of a set on Arena. So they had to have a mastery track for it and stuff. And like, I'm not going to draft this.
Not if it's full of digital only cards. I don't really have any interest in that.
And like, okay, if it's so when you draft, right? Part of drafting is like, I'm building my collection. I have no desire to play historic.
Right.
Like they have like thoroughly ruined that format. Right. So, okay. None of these cards are legal in Explorer.
Right.
So why am I like, you commit, oh, you're spending money for the experience. Cool. Like maybe I would do a draft.
You're not going to do 22 of them though.
No, I'm not going to do 22. And my 22 Duke Capenna drafts, the least amount of drafts I've done on in any set in like a year and a half. Like I've not done less than like 28 or 30 in any set. And this one I'm just like, I can't bring myself to do another one. But yeah, so like I'm sure that Chad was like, bro, set's still really good in November, bro. Give him a new set.
Right before Christmas.
Bro, just get all that Christmas money, bro. Right? And I'm sure I'm like 100% sure that's what it is, right? They've done the math.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, hey, like,
the fall set's too far before Christmas to get the Christmas money.
Yeah. So the, whatever it is, there's a spike in sales in November, but people aren't super excited about that set. So if we release a set right around then, we're going to ride that spike. And then, maybe the summer sets didn't sell well.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's just get rid of them. So yeah, like it just doesn't make any sense in the way of like we want standard to be a good format.
Yeah. But so this is the first mastery track that we've had for a non-standard format, though, right? We didn't get a mastery track for Amonkhet. We didn't get a mastery track for what was the
Kaladesh.
other one? Kaladesh.
No, we didn't get mastery track Jumpstart.
No, and like I don't know how much longer this mastery track is good for. I couldn't find a date anywhere. Otherwise, I would have put it in here. But we got to be like halfway done with it, right? So,
Baldur's Gate comes out July 7th. I do
so
believe.
like another month we've got.
Roughly 6 weeks.
Yeah, and then I guess September is like roughly the same time period after that. So,
well, like 2 months.
Yeah, so we should. I guess that should run through till September.
July to August, August to early September is when the next set comes out.
Yeah.
But right, they couldn't. I hadn't looked to see how long this mastery track was, but they couldn't make this mastery track 120 levels and just make it run to the next standard set, right? Because that's 3,400 gems that they wouldn't get people to click on,
right,
and get rid of. So we're just we have to have another one, right? That's part of the business model is we have this year, 5 mastery tracks in the year.
Yep.
So we got to make sure we get our 5 mastery tracks.
Yep. So, I thought that was interesting. And I hadn't heard anybody talking about that yet either. I hadn't even heard anybody mention that.
Yeah. So, like, we've got, weird set releases, which they're like repeating next year or next Magic year, this fall, fall and early winter.
Yep.
Right. And, mastery track for random set. Right. And like, it just feels like with this long break, they've kind of backed away from standard as being like the flagship. Yeah. And another thing that leads you to that is alchemy, right? Yeah.
Like our initial impression of the format was that alchemy was just going to replace standard on arena anyway, right? Like Wizards has shown that they can't really design a good standard format while including like all of the pieces for a bunch of other formats that they need to and like keep everything balanced. So, we just kind of assumed that alchemy was going to replace standard on arena. But maybe Wizards has gone a step beyond that. And like maybe standard just doesn't matter anymore at all for anything.
Yeah, well, so the plan one was let's ignore standard on arena for alchemy, like you said.
Yep.
The problem is that everyone hated alchemy.
Right.
Right. So now it's kind of
everybody hated the alchemy cards in historic, and I don't think like actual alchemy was any better than standard was. So
fair.
I don't think people actually hated alchemy. They just didn't care about it because it wasn't any better than standard was.
Well, it also hasn't, like I had heard someone finally bring this up. I think we talked about this last week, right? It was also that the economy is so predatory that even if you were like, oh, hey, I really care about this alchemy release, right? You just did whatever, 40 drafts to get enough cards for you to put together your standard deck, or you sunk $300 into the client.
Yeah.
And then if you were an alchemy player, hey, guess what? In 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we're dumping a whole other effectively full set release on you.
Plus changing a bunch of cards that you already had to either make you craft them because you haven't yet or make them worthless.
Yeah.
And all of the cards surrounding them.
Yeah, and we're going to like make it so like this is just another money sink, right? No one realistically could spend $600 per standard set release on Arena.
Right.
To like play Arena, right? So they kind of just because of like how I think if alchemy was like if they were just like, here are alchemy cards, they're free in your account.
Yeah.
I think people would have been like, oh, okay, cool. But because it's like, hey, we need you to spend however much money, or even if we were like, hey, every alchemy pack has 2 alchemy rares in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oh, cool. Like, that's super cool.
Double alchemy masters.
Yeah. Like, same price, but 2 rares because we know we just soaked you.
2 rares and a cosmetic.
Yeah. We know we just soaked you
Yeah.
5 weeks ago. So we can't do it again in good conscience.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, yes, we can. Bro, I don't have a conscience, bro. Just beans.
They'll buy whatever. It doesn't matter.
Bro, these nerds will buy anything, bro.
That's right.
Bro, how do you think I get all this creatine, bro? Bro, how do you think Mark gets all that cocaine? The truth comes out, bro.
Yeah.
I think it was a combination of like people weren't super happy because alchemy wasn't different enough, right? And it was like, hey, did you? We have to also like extract so much more money out of you.
Yeah.
So like they kind of were like, all right, alchemy is not working, but no one wants to play standard.
Right.
So we'll give them explorer. Right. So now we'll ignore standard on arena for explorer. That seem reasonable. And they kind of have been ignoring standard in paper for a long time.
Yeah. I have like a bunch of random thoughts written down that like maybe would make good talking points kind of like in this greater topic.
Okay.
But like I said, my brain is not functioning at like full brain power currently. So I hadn't really like organized them or like, come to any conclusions. I just figured we'd, talk about some talking points here.
You're basically describing the podcast.
Well, yeah, but a little bit more disorganized than normal.
They're 175 episodes into some random talking points.
Yeah.
It's fine. They're used to it.
These ones are a little bit less organized than normal, though. Usually, like, when I write an episode, like, I have some place that I want to go with it. And, like, this time, I really don't have a place I wanted to go with it. I was just thinking...
Bed. You just wanted to go to bed.
Yeah, I still just want to go to bed, man. So, yeah, kind of like I alluded to, like, when we were kind of introducing this topic, like, Wizards has been changing the way they designed sets for quite a while now. And they've been designing sets in such a way that they're like seeding a whole bunch of cards for other formats into the sets. I know we've talked on the show before about how like when you got a standard set release, you'd get like a card or 2 cards that made it like all the way back to Legacy. Or you might get 3 or 4 cards that made it into Modern. Where now you get entire archetypes from a set into Legacy or Modern.
Yeah.
And same goes for Commander. Like they're purposely putting in cards that are good in Commander that are breaking other formats. Like Agent of Treachery, Nexus of Fate. Like those cards were not supposed to be Corvold. Those cards were not supposed to be playable in non-Commander formats. And they have broken non-Commander formats.
Yeah, I think that there's been a greater push to say, hey, we have a player base that is split among these 6 formats. Right? We need to make sure that someone in any of those 6 formats is interested in buying a booster pack.
Yeah.
Or if they're not interested in buying a booster pack, they're interested in buying a single that someone else has to open a booster pack to get.
Right.
And so that's led to like all the cards you listed, $5 commons.
Yeah.
Because
from the best selling set of all time.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Well, before the next set, which was the best selling set of all time,
And the set after that, and the set after that. Yeah.
But like, you have this situation where it's just, we've got to make sure that we have cards for every format, and it becomes easy to miss.
Yeah.
Right? If you're just trying to make a set that had the best possible cards for standard, right? And you missed, I don't think you missed to the extent that they've missed recently. Right? But if you're like, oh, we need to put a 5-color commander in this set.
Vintage playable.
Yeah, vintage playable Golos. We've got a bandit and commander, it's too good.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, well, that's probably not where you want to be.
Right.
And they're like, yes, but that's where we are.
Make it a box topper. It'll be in the best deck in standard.
Yeah. And so they just like, they keep doing these things and they miss, and then they break their standard format, because like, we end up with like, you know, if you print like 3 12s and on a 10 power scale, the best standard deck is the one that can best utilize all 3 of those 12s.
Yep.
Or build the best shell around one of the, use some 10s and build a shell around the 12.
Right.
And it's like, oh, how many decks are there? Well, how many 12s are there? Well, there are 3 12s. Congratulations.
3 decks.
3 decks.
Yeah. Well, 4 decks if
only...
you find one that plays all of them.
Yes. Yes.
Looking at you, adventures.
Yeah, they're all blue and black. Oh, excellent.
Perfect.
So there's the deck that plays all of them.
Yeah.
And then there's the decks that lose to them. Oh, cool.
Yeah, there you go.
So you have this, like, by having so many masters, like, they've had to let something go.
Well, it even goes a little bit beyond that, though, because what was the first set where we had this issue? Like, was it Throne or was it Core 19?
Core 19, their explanation for Field was they wanted something for Scapeshift to do.
Well, right, but Field wasn't the only problem with that set.
There was that was Golos and Veil.
Yeah.
And Aethergust.
Yeah.
And I think you could make an argument that, like, Veil wasn't supposed to be in standard. Like,
maybe.
Like, they didn't think Veil was going to be played in standard.
Right.
Core 19, I think, had the problem, and I stand by this because of my boy Elvish Reclaimer. Right? Elvish Reclaimer was a Modern Horizons card.
Yeah.
I swear. Right? It cared about how many
Veil
lands
could
you
have
had
been also.
But it cared about how many lands you had in your graveyard.
Yeah.
The red-green archetype in Modern Horizons was lands in graveyard.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know how many designs in Core 19.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because, like, Golos and Field were both...
Yeah, were supposed to be things that were in Modern Horizons.
Yeah.
That, right? So the modern, like, everyone can look at the files, right? And so someone on the Core 19 team sees Field and goes like, oh, hey, could we have that? Because, like, we want something for Scapeshift to do.
Yeah.
From the previous set. Oh, yeah, that's fine. We don't have space for it anyway.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I really like Elvish Reclaimer's design, but we don't have space for it in Modern Horizons. Can you guys use it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's fine. We can put it in the set. So I think 19 was probably the first set that had that problem.
So
where, like, cards that weren't supposed to be in standard bled into standard.
Yeah. I think, like, where I was kind of going with that thought is, like, Core 19 came out in 2018. Right? That's how core sets work.
Right before Throne, yeah.
Yeah. So we're now 4 years into this problem.
Yeah.
And Wizards hasn't walked it back at all.
Yeah, I think it was right before Throne, right? Or was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Because Throne would have been... Because it went Throne... No.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Because it went Throne into Theros, right?
Yeah, Theros Beyond Death.
And then the world ended. And the
then
world ended
then
in
the
20.
world ended. Well, it was Throne, Theros, Ikoria, and like the world ended like at Ikoria release.
Yeah, but it ended in so it couldn't have been Core 20, right? Because Core 20 would have come out, Core 19 would have come out in 18.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. So that's why.
So Core
like,
19 had to be out before like War of the Spark, and I guess War of the Spark too.
So where was it? Okay. So, okay. So War was in 19.
Yeah.
So is it Core? Is Golos from Core 20?
Maybe.
Because like it was the previous core set had Cape Shift. Because it went War of the Spark was the broken one.
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, because it was War was broken, and then the 20, I guess Core 20 would have been the next broken one, right?
Yeah.
And then so maybe it was 20. Maybe we're 3 years into this like dumpster fire.
Well, still, I don't think the argument changes at all.
No. No.
Like they've had plenty of sets and plenty of time to correct the course that we're on, and really haven't done so. Like arguably have done the opposite and doubled down on making things for other formats. So like that only like can lead you to one conclusion, is that like this whole thing is by design and they're prioritizing basically every other format over standard.
Yeah, where they've decided that they figured out how to monetize those formats.
Yeah.
And so now that we can monetize those formats, we're just going to keep monetizing them.
Yeah.
And so it is 20, because here's
20.
Veil. Yeah, so Veil, Aether Gust, Risen Reef,
yeah,
Lotus Field.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just
bunch of bangers.
A wild collection of cards.
Yeah.
Agent of Treachery.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like War, this, into Throne, which just, was a collection of sets that should not be. Even Colossus Hammer.
Yeah. Yep. New modern archetype.
Colossus Hammer.
Yep.
Did you know Field of the Dead is still $20?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dear God.
I was looking at them. That's what kind of prompted my mini sell-off right before I got sick. I was going through some cards to make buy list orders, and I couldn't believe that was still a $20 card, so I started going through. I never made it that far. I only made it through. I think I made it up to Fate Reforged before I started not feeling great, so.
Yeah. There's still cash.
There's still plenty of cash, yeah. There's always money in the banana stand.
Yeah. So, yeah, they've definitely had a stretch where they've done a bad job designing cards. And I feel like you could argue they're steering out of it a little bit. But
I don't know.
A little.
I mean, maybe a little bit. Like, the problems aren't maybe not as egregious anymore, but they haven't, like, dialed it back, really.
No. Like,
maybe they're not 12s anymore, but there's more of them.
Yeah, I think that maybe we're more accepting of the cards that are super pushed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the Wandering Emperor getting played in Legacy.
Uh-huh.
And just, like, any random white deck.
Ledger Shredder being in, like, a staple in every format. Yeah.
So, like, I remember when, like, Fate, like, so when when Cons came out, like, other than the fetch lands, like, none of those cards got really, like, Pressure Cruise and Dig.
Yeah.
And
in Cons, nothing was well, like Wingmate Rock was for a minute, but that was from Standard, not from any other format.
But not even like monetarily, like it wasn't like they just like instantaneously like went into like every format. And then like Fate Reforged was
Monastery Mentor.
Monastery Mentor and Ugin only in
Tron
and like Cloud Post decks.
Yeah.
Right? And Dragons, Collected Company, and Huh? Like, not a whole lot?
The commands. The commands showed up
Yeah, I
everywhere
guess
for a
K
while.
command.
Well, they
Command.
like all of them did. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not all of them, but Tarka's
Targa's
command, Dramoka's
the cheap
command.
ones.
Yeah, they saw play.
But like it wasn't. I don't know. Like they saw play, but they didn't warp formats.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, a lot of the cards, right? We went through a stretch where, like you said, we just get archetypes.
Right.
Like, hey, would you like this to be the best? This card might be the best deck in fill in the blank format. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
We get less of that now, but there's way more of like card that sees eternal play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Than there used to be.
Yeah.
Ooh, Monastery Swift Spear. Monastery Swift Spear is the like other cons card that like saw like wide play.
Well, I mean, there's a zombie fish too, but it's a common.
Yeah. Zombie Fish was from Fate.
No.
Yeah.
Was it?
I think.
No.
Yeah.
Because it has Delve.
Yeah, so does Tassiger. Tassiger is from Fate.
Oh, that's true. No, I don't think they were in the same set.
The internet knows.
The internet knows.
I just have to spell Gurmag correctly. It is from Fate Reforged.
Is it really? Oh, well,
15 cents.
All right.
You
got
there's
me.
also an old border printing for $1.62.
Ooh.
So there were a few,
Yeah.
but like Gurmag Angler took Patrick Chapin, like building a deck around it and people laughing at him, and then getting like their Tarmogoyfs clowned.
Yeah.
And then going, oh, it's always bigger than Tarmogoyf. Yeah, it's always bigger than Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
For like 1 mana.
Oh, it makes Tarmogoyf smaller.
Oh, that's it. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, but it just feels like there's more cards that are just like more powerful.
Yeah.
And you are right that they're trying to dial it back, I think, for standard, while letting those cards slip through.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you know, like Ledger Shredder isn't gonna like, I don't think is like a huge like standard player.
Mm-hmm.
But it's seeing play elsewhere.
Yeah.
Kind of like Monastery Mentor.
Right. Basically saw no play in standard.
Yeah, it just didn't work with what was going on.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, if they could do that more, but like they were just missing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like they've made it so standard is kind of like unbalanceable. At least in like the medium term.
Yeah.
Because you print Throne. Congratulations. Nothing you print till Throne rotates matters.
Right.
Unless it's Kroxa and Uro.
Yeah. Unless it's Simic.
Right? Yeah. And then, so then you're like, okay, well, I've got to push the next set. How am I going to sell the next set? Okay, well, maybe they honestly miss Companions, but the power lever of Companions was at a point because it had to compete with the other stuff.
Everything else that was going on.
And then you also have the problem of like, oh, these commands are fun. Or not commands, ultimatums are fun.
Yeah.
For Commander players. And I remember when they printed the first one, or when they spoiled the Sultai ultimatum.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why did they do this? Nothing good can come of this. You just get 14 mana worth of stuff.
Yeah.
There has to be something you can do to win the game. So, it's fine. And then it's just like, oh no, it's just
It's
every
not
turn,
fun.
turn 5, you just lose the game.
Yeah.
Oh, neat. Right, so they've done a really bad job. They've not demonstrated that they can like make standard work.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, let's not. And then what was the thing that kind of held standard together for years and years and years, even when there was a bad standard?
The competitive environment?
Yes, you had to play standard.
Yeah.
Because that's what most of the competitive tournaments were in.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like, other than like modern season, which was usually like in the fall,
Right.
right? Which was right when standard rotated, and usually when standard was kind of at its worst.
Right before rotation.
Right before / like right after, right?
Yeah.
And so you had to play standard. And they like nuked organized play / like changed it so many times that I could not tell you how to qualify for things.
I mean, still can't. Before we started recording this show, we just went through a huge thing in Discord about how this DreamHack stuff is supposed to work, and the cliff notes are nobody knows.
Nobody knows. You went and did a deep dive. You snuck into the DreamHack Discord server and found no one there scheduling tournaments.
Yeah, they have a whole room in their Discord for people to post up their events. And signups for the events have been going on since April, and they end in 2 weeks, and there are no events posted.
Sweet.
But the DreamHack website directs you to Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions you have, join our Discord.
Yeah.
No
weird.
events.
So, so for years, even when standard was bad, you had to play it, right?
Yeah.
And so that required you to kind of like make the best of it, right? Like you either leaned into like, I'm going to play the best deck, or I'm going to play the deck that I think has a good matchup against the best deck, and that's what I'm going to do, right? And a combination of like pandemic and trash management.
Well, and the year of Commander.
Yeah. So, 3 things. Pandemic, trash management, and the desire to turn Commander into Magic's premier format. Like, all of those things conspired together to get rid of organized play. And, right, if there's no organized play, right, if you hop on Arena and you're playing standard and your opponent goes Galvanic Iteration, Elrond's Epiphany on turn 6, 2 games in a row, right? There's no reason for you to be like, you know what? I got to figure out how to beat this deck.
Yeah.
Right? You just go like uninstall. I'll come back. I'll come back in a few months and see if this is still happening.
Yeah.
And you come back in a few months and you're like, oh my God.
Nobody's done anything about this yet?
Yeah. Right? And so you're just like, so there's not that like, you know what? I know I'm going to go to F&M and I want to play standard and I have to play against this deck. So I'm either going to figure out how to beat it or I'm going to like play it. Right? Or I'm just going to play some oddball thing and scoop to this twice and like have fun hanging out with my friends.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
it's like, no, I'm going to get on the ladder and be miserable for 45 minutes. I think I won't get on the ladder.
Like, if you're Wizards, though, and you see, regardless of whether it's by design or by happenstance, if you're Wizards and you see the focus, shifting away from organized play, like nobody knowing how organized play works, nobody tuning in for your competitive, streams, nobody caring about competitive play in general, or seemingly nobody caring about competitive play. And the system that you do have isn't focused on standard anymore. Like, we have a bunch of pioneer events, and I think after that's modern. Like, the focus is not on standard for the foreseeable future through any of the organized play. And everybody, like all of your players have moved, through the pandemic, through losing organized play, whatever, moved away from your competitive formats to Commander, combined with what we were just talking about, kind of with the, with the standard releases being weird. Like, why would you continue to support standard? Like, if you're trying to shove all these other things into standard and making a bad standard format and not being able to balance it, and less people are playing standard. The OP focus isn't on standard. Like, from Wizards' point of view, regardless of like how you got here, why would you continue to support standard?
I mean, there's no reason to, right?
Right.
Like if you've decided that the reason that you put cards in packs is for people that don't play standard to buy them, right? Then you don't care about standard players.
Right.
Right? If you've decided that the way we're going to make the most money when we make a standard set, right? When we make our new set every quarter, in theory, right? Is if we've decided that we have 6 formats, right? Standard, Pioneer, Modern, Commander, Limited, and I guess Legacy kind of exists. We'll ignore it. Blah, 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 right? Right? If you've decided that I don't need the Legacy people, there's like 7 of them. No one cares.
No, that's sad.
Right? And I don't need the standard people. Right? I can make a good limited environment. For the most part, I figured that out.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, we really have had pretty good limited environments. Like, even the bad ones have been better than previous bad ones.
Yeah. And I'm going to make my money selling my cards to Pioneer, Modern, and Commander players.
Yeah.
Right? And then getting people to, like, draft. Right? If you've decided that, like, you don't need the standard players, and, right, you know, there's also a stickiness to Magic players, right? So if everyone at your store stops playing standard because it sucks,
right?
And they all move to playing Pioneer, right? Magic doesn't lose you as a player, right? You just move to Pioneer, so you're still interested in the next set release because what if it has a busted card for my Pioneer deck? Oh, imagine that. It does.
Yeah.
I guess I need to crack packs, or I need to, like, Shopkeep needs to crack packs so I can buy the singles that I need.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're just able to be like, you know what? The people that play standards are typically pretty enfranchised. They're not going to leave us, or they're not going to leave us in large enough numbers for us to care when we've now got Commander people playing our product.
That's kind of like a whole nother thing that I hadn't thought about that you just kind of made click in my head. And that's that if you think about the type of people that played standard versus the type of people who play Modern, Legacy, Commander, whatever, like, how many standard players did you see that would foil out their standard deck?
Very few. I did it with Gates. I regret it.
How many Modern players have you seen that have a foiled out Modern deck? Or were working on foiling out a Modern deck?
A lot.
What about Commander?
I don't interact with those people. From what I've heard, it's a lot.
A lot. So if you're also changing the way that not just you're designing the cards, but you're, like, marketing your product with collector boosters, set boosters, super ultra foils,
secret layers,
etched foils, whatever the sunburst, whatever the new one is, new shimmer, what wavy, whatever it is, new foil, secret layers, alt art, whatever. Like, you're gonna sell those cards more to not standard players than to standard players. And also, like, I would imagine it's a lot harder to design secret layers for cards currently in standard based on, like, how much time it takes to, you know, get stuff sent to print and back and distributed. I would imagine, like, by the time you knew what needed to be included in a secret layer for standard, like, it wouldn't be relevant anymore.
Like, think about, oh gosh, there were some cards that, like, didn't the Theros Titans come out pretty quick?
Yeah,
Was it like
they were
6 or 9 months later?
They were in the Kaldheim secret layer, though.
Okay, so it was a year.
Yeah.
And they were like, oops, we're banning Uro.
Which I still think was pretty quick, though. Like, I mean, they had to have started that
Yeah.
before they realized that Uro was a huge problem.
Yes, it was before Uro was a huge problem, but like that's what like they could have been like the last thing you want to do doing something like that is be like Elspeth is fire.
Yeah.
We need to have an alt art Elspeth because every standard player is going to have 4 Elspeth in their deck,
Yeah.
and then no one plays it, and then your secret layer
sells none.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? But you know that whatever commander card, you know that if you had a secret layer Cyclonic Rift, right, that every blue player, commander player buys that secret layer.
Right.
Everyone.
Yep.
So
probably
like,
just every commander player, honestly, like not even just the blue ones.
Yeah, but like you have like, I have my Sanguine Bloods showed up.
Yeah, mine did too. I haven't opened them yet. I don't know what like bonus cards I got, but they just showed up the other day.
I have literally never opened my secret layers. I have the Mark Pool secret layer in foil, and then I have the Sanguine Blood one in foil just because it's got a Sanguine Blood in it.
Yeah.
And I have my Thalias.
Yep.
Never opened any of them. Gavin's got to go to college somehow.
Weren't they supposed to ship with like collector boosters as like an I'm sorry for punting the
they might
deck?
be. You know what's bad is like somewhere on my shelf as I'm looking for it right now, I see it. They sent like a oh gosh, what did they send? They sent like a Forgotten Realms like pack.
Yeah.
With one of mine a while back. Never opened that pack.
Yeah, I opened that one. I didn't get collector boosters with this one though.
Oh, you didn't?
Mm-mm.
Oh, maybe that's when I bet you know what it is. That's when the commander decks come. They'll come with the collector. They'll come with the collector boosters. I bet. Anyway, yeah. If your marketing plan is to sell to whales, right? There are more whales in Eternal formats than there are in Standard.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, because like Standard, it's like, I'm going to play this deck for 3 months. I need to spend as little money on it as possible.
Yep.
So that I can then buy my next Standard deck and play that for 3 months.
Yep. And
you're not going to be like, oh, like $70 fill in the blank
Foil Loco
fancy card? Yeah, Foil Loco. Cool, in.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's just not going to happen. So, yeah, I can see where if like your plan is to pimp your deck, you've got to sell to the people that want to pimp their deck.
Well, if you're planning on doing that kind of stuff, and like that's where you've decided that you're going to make more money selling your product is with fancy versions of your product, it just doesn't make sense to like support the formats where they don't care about the fancy product. Like I would even argue that limited players care more about the fancy cards than standard players do, because at least the limited players, when they open one, can sell it and get a draft out of it, whereas the standard players just don't care.
Yeah, this is like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, think about our first foray into like random fancy cards, which was Theros. Not Theros, I'm sorry, Throne.
Throne.
Right? I remember distinctly a podcast host being perturbed that he had 4 murderous riders.
And they were all different.
But it was a regular one, a showcase one, a foil one, and then something, and it was just, and you're just like, well, this sucks. I have 4. One was like a pre-release one.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, well, this sucks. Like, I have 4, but they don't match.
Right.
Right? Like, this, like, is not good for me. I don't want this.
Yeah.
Right? And so, this product is not for you, good sir.
Yeah,
right?
Most products are not for me anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that is a a way that they've just decided it's all about, I think, monetizing. Like, how many beans can we get in Chad's pocket?
Yeah. So another thing, like I said, these are kind of just talking points. They're not really in any order or anything. But Wizards has said, especially like through this year of Commander or whatever, I guess that was 2 years ago now, but it feels like it's still the year of Commander because that's all anybody talks about, and those are like the only products we get anymore. That more people are learning to play the game through Commander, which I really don't understand. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like the most complex format, and that's how you're onboarding people. But
it's like, hey, how about this card from like 20 years ago
with random mechanic that we had to change the rules to make work in like today's rules.
And then we set the font size for the rules text to 3.
Yeah.
So it would all fit.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah. This is an ice cauldron. Good luck.
Jeweled amulet.
Exactly. I'm going to now cast Armageddon. Well, how do I do anything? You don't.
You don't.
That's the whole point.
I hope you have some mana rocks.
Yeah. Oh, fun. But on the other hand, right?
It's more social. It's more approachable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And like, on some level, I think Commander players and Legacy players are similar in that they just want to get a game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? So like, you're like, yo, I've got like 3 decks.
Mm-hmm.
Here, take one, and we'll sit here and we'll play.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
So like, I could see that, but like, the only place people were like Commander was the only way people were playing Magic, because it was kind of the thing you could do on the down low during the pandemic.
Well, I mean, there was a couple things going for it. Number one is people seem to be a lot more comfortable like closing their doors in. So like if you already had somebody in your circle that you were seeing regularly, it was more acceptable to keep seeing that person than it was to sit down with a table of randos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I've decided to include you in my secret circle, then we might as well just keep playing anyway because you're in my circle. I'm already exposed to you.
Yeah.
So that was part of it. And then another part was, well, I guess it's kind of the same part, but like a lot of Commander players have like a Commander night that's not necessarily at the game store, where it's just like 4 buddies getting together at somebody's house. And for a lot of people, that just kind of kept happening. So Commander just kept getting played. And
I think it was people were more apt to do like the spell table online webcam magic.
Yep.
I think partly because it was more of an excuse to hang out with people.
Right.
Like, I don't have anything to really talk about with this person, but we'll just play like Magic, and that will like fill the dead air.
Yeah, it'll break the ice a little bit.
Yeah. How was your day? I tap 4 mana, cast Armageddon. Isn't this fun for all of us?
Wasteland.
Yeah. Wasteland you. I'll cast Armageddon, play Strip Mine, go. Woohoo. But right, like I think there were more people willing to do that because like Standard was often like the point of Standard was you needed to play against like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different people over the course of a few hours, right? And that wasn't like something you could like get from the like, you know,
spell table stuff.
Yeah, the webcam magic.
Yep.
So
yeah,
what are you gonna do?
Like kind of wrapping that whole thought up. If people are onboarding through Commander, and like that's important to Wizards, is how to onboard new players. If you know the way that new players are gravitating to the game is through Commander, and like arguably that's not something that Wizards designed. Like I don't think Wizards had any intent to make Commander the way to onboard new players.
No.
They've always had some sort of product aimed at doing that, and I don't think it was ever the Commander product.
No.
But if that's how new players are being onboarded, why would you continue to support the format that traditionally was for onboarding players?
Yeah.
Like if that's not serving the purpose anymore, on top of all of these other things that we've talked about, there's not really a point to support the format.
Like there's like you're not like, what is it like? You should listen to your customers. If your customers say want to use your product this way, you shouldn't tell them no.
Right.
You should encourage them to do the thing they want to do with your product.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And like a lot of players, especially over this like chunk of time, like pandemic and a little before, like I want to use this product in 4-player pods.
Mm-hmm.
And as opposed to going like, no, don't. Wizards went, sure, that sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the problem has been they have leaned too far into it.
Yeah, I mean, even the Commander players are, I don't know if they still are, but for a while they were kind of agitated about being designed for instead of, like, they kind of like just picking up the scraps.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw people tweeting, was it Severum from the, or Shivam from the RC or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was our RC Rules Committee. He was like, we should stop making, I think it was him, it was like, we should stop making it so every pre-con face commander is not just the best commander for that archetype that's ever been printed.
Yeah.
Right? And so but like, it's one thing if your player base is like, hey, we would like to use your cards for commander.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you can lean into it some, but for them, like, it seems like they've just been like, oh, that's it? And they've just, like, hard turned.
Well, I mean, that's something that Wizards does with everything, though. Like, I forget, I made this exact analogy for something else not that long ago. I don't remember what it is. But, like, Wizards latches onto something, and they just do it until they can't do it anymore, then they throw it out.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I was talking about when I said that. But
you just hold on and squeeze as much money out as you can.
Yeah.
And then, well, I think, like, this is something we talked about last week, right? With all the products, there's going to come a point where they, like, where the sales line doesn't go up anymore.
Right.
Right? And then there's going to be, like, panic at WOTC
mm-hmm.
as they slash products and whatnot.
Yep.
But, yeah, it seems like it's just been easier to say the money right now is in Commander.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need to, like, maintain this other thing?
Well,
right?
Like, I don't mean to say that, like, the whole problem, or that it even is a problem, is Commander. Like, I don't think, like, play the game however you want. I don't care. And, like, I don't care that Wizards is designing stuff for Commander. And, like, honestly, I'm at the point, like, comprehending this all myself where I don't even know that this is a problem. It's just something that, like, I hadn't heard anybody talking about, that, like, Standard just might be dead. So I thought we'd talk about it. And like I said, I don't even know that it's a problem. Like, I don't.
No, it might not be.
I find myself not caring that Standard might not be a thing anymore.
And I mean, and that's the big thing for you, as you were the, like, default Standard player.
Mm-hmm.
You were the archetypical, I play Standard person.
Yeah, for sure. I was always the Standard guy for team events. I was the one that everybody asked what was good in the format when they had an event. I was always the one that people wanted to jam against because I was in tune with the format.
Yeah, and it's to just be like, it's dead and it might be fine. I didn't mean to, like, blame Commander.
Yeah.
More along the lines of, like, think about, Wizards hasn't gone through, like, a huge hiring spree, right?
Right.
Right. So they still have the same, like, now granted they have the casual playtest group, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But for the most part, they basically have the same people working there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're cranking out twice as many products.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, right, they only have so much bandwidth. So, every time they crank out 4 Commander decks,
mm-hmm.
someone has to, in theory, playtest those cards.
In theory.
Right? And that would perhaps mean that someone has to spend less time playtesting Standard. Right?
Yeah, like,
and it's not just Commander, right? It could be, like, any number of things. Like, someone has to design Double Masters too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Has to design that limited environment. So they're playtesting the limited environment.
Yeah.
They're not looking at why is it that blue-white is the best deck in New Capenna by a mile?
Yeah.
Right.
Like that I agree with. I don't know that commander decks need to be play tested a ton because the floor is not really all that low. Like if you miss, it's
Whatever. It was a place that you put like 4 cards that you wanted to like put in commander.
yeah. I mean, you there are definitely like places where they like Dockside Extortionist is like
Whoopsie.
yeah, that's a whoopsie. And sure, whatever. But like there's a lot of people that wish the card didn't exist, but it's not like you destroyed a format because you printed Dockside, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like you print Agent of Treachery and you destroy a format. You print Nexus of Fate and you destroy a format. You print Oko and you destroy 4 formats.
All of them. I mean, like, and then you print Uro and you destroy 3 formats.
Yeah.
Right? In back-to-back sets. Oops, that won't happen again. Oh.
Same casting cost too. Yikes.
Yikes. Why did we shave a mana symbol off of both of them? But yeah, you have this situation where like it just seems like they're spread too thin.
Yeah.
And the thing that has suffered, like at the end of the day, when they're like, yo man, I don't know if this set's good for standard.
Mm-hmm.
It just like shrug and it's like
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Don't care. Doesn't matter. Like we're going to sell this product off of these other formats.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I think for a long time it was we're going to sell this product off of standard.
Yeah.
And that shift, right, means that they just spend less time looking at standard.
Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised if we saw more of this going forward. I know you mentioned earlier about how like you expect to see this next fall for like them doubling up in the fall and skipping summer or whatever for, sales around Christmas time. And that makes a ton of sense. I hadn't even thought about that. But I can definitely see like this trend continuing and it's going to snowball. Like if somebody at Wizards, puts all of these points together and says, oh yeah, huh, why are we still doing this? Like you're going to get releases that aren't tied to standard anymore. So you might get, a standard set to have, something lower powered to, onboard people, but then you'll get Explorer Horizons or Pioneer Horizons and Modern Horizons and, all these random Lord of the Rings, modern exclusive or whatever. Like you're going to get all these random sets that don't have anything to do with standard. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if standard sets started getting pushed out of the way and they just got rid of it. Like,
I don't know if they go. I guess they could. Like if you don't have a format that requires you to release 4 sets a year.
Yeah.
Right? But I guess
I mean it's weird because that's how we've been trained to think.
I mean, this fall is 30 years of Magic.
Yeah.
They've literally been releasing Magic sets once every 3-ish months for like 29 or 28 of those years.
Until this year?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, like alpha into beta.
Like the early sets didn't matter because they were released. Like alpha, there was only one printing. They printed as much as they could afford, and then all of the profits from alpha went to print beta, and then they did the same thing.
But like if you look at, so basically, let's say 27, 28 years they've been on this same schedule, and then this year not so much, and is it? I know that we were talking about that Crimson Vow didn't do very well. Did Crimson Vow not do very well because people didn't like the set, or because of when it was released?
I don't know. I don't know that it had anything to do with when it was released. Like I think that block in general didn't do great. Like I don't think Midnight Hunt or Crimson Vow did great. And I think part of the problem with Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow was the what was it called? The double feature. Not only were
people
the sets
were waiting on that.
Well, not only were the sets not super strong, but people didn't really care about the cards because there was a whole nother product with the same exact cards in it. So there wasn't there wasn't a ton of hype to, crack collector boosters for Crimson Vow when
in a month there's another set coming.
Yeah, there's going to be another set with like kind of a cool shtick.
Yeah. Well, so let's say this year, the Brothers War doesn't sell well. Right? Maybe they go like, maybe our our thought of we need to get a set closer to Christmas, maybe that's bad. And maybe that pushes them to go closer to the old timeline.
Yeah.
Or something. Or they then they start doing a set August and October. Or August in early November.
August and November would be fine. Like that would be not that far from where we were, but still space things out appropriately.
But they might move them around a little bit in the future.
Yeah.
But you're also right that if they've decided that we're only selling for groups, right? As long as they have a booster pack that's $450,
wow,
right? for people to draft,
yeah,
right? That keeps your limited players engaged because the limited players don't care if it's New Capenna or just double Masters 4.
Right.
Right. Doesn't matter to them. Oh, it's Pauper Masters. Fine. Don't care.
Whatever. It's a limited environment.
It's a limited environment. I'll play it for a while. Right. And then, oh, hey, as long as then your other players want to
it's Secret Lair Cube.
In. A proxied vintage cube.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be hilarious if they did a cube that was all of the cards they could reprint, and then all the reserve list cards are just the playtest cards.
Oh man.
Would that just be great?
That would be great.
It's just a sticker over a card, it's just Mox Pearl.
Black Lotus.
And it's just a picture of a pearl. Yeah. You just move on. Great. Wizards, call me.
We found out how to get around the reserve list.
There we go. There was someone who tweeted the other day. It was like, I'm so happy. It was my idea to have Jumpstart sets for Jumpstart releases for every standard release, and I was like, that's not something to be proud of.
Yeah.
That's not something to be. It's like, you know what we need? Another set.
Yeah.
But if that went away and they could still sell to limited players and sell to that other group.
Yeah.
And if everything just became hey, we do a modern Horizons, and then we do an Explorer Horizons and a Pioneer Horizons, and there we go. There's our excuse to make new cards.
Why did Standard matter in the first place? Because there was competitive events tied to it, because it was a way to onboard players, and because it was, a relatively inexpensive format.
Well, I think from a business point of view, there's the onboarding of players, but there's also, it was the only set that made you buy new cards. Or the only format.
I mean, every format makes you do that now.
Yeah, but for years, they hadn't figured out how to make Modern, Legacy, and Commander rotate every year.
True. Very true.
But now they figured out how you do that.
Yeah.
Right? Next Modern Horizons 3 is going to be Robo Monkey, and it's going to be a Memnite. It's going to cost 0 mana, but have the Ragavan text.
Modern Horizons 3 is Lord of the Rings. We know this already.
Well, they've said it's not going to be Lord of the Ring, Modern Horizons power level, but it has to be.
Yeah, right. It has to be.
Right, so that's right. So it'll just be the one ring.
Yeah.
Will be 0 mana, 4 tap, sack, win the game.
Yeah.
We're oh, neat.
Metamorphose.
Yeah. Target player loses the game, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
That way it works better in if
Commander.
you don't just win your Commander game.
Right, yeah.
You just get the arch enemy out of there, and then you're fine.
But, like, none of those things that we just said on why Standard mattered in the past are relevant today.
I guess the only reason that Standard needs to stay, in air quotes, is maybe for Arena.
Not with Alchemy. I mean, that's what we kind of started the episode on.
But so you're like, just like, oh, hey, here's like an Alchemy release every quarter.
Well, I mean, we're getting that with this set. Commander, Baldur's Gate, Legends 2, Alchemy, Horizons, whatever.
I wonder if Alchemy was like their way, like, for this exact problem.
Could be.
We're not gonna have a summer set. How are we gonna like keep people on Arena?
Oh, yeah.
We'll make this other format, and they'll really like it. It'll be different enough from Standard.
Yeah.
And right, like if you were a Standard player, right, and you're looking at 5 or 6 months of, I don't know, Jetmirs, and you're just like, oh, if I see another Jetmir, I'm gonna puke, right? And you're just like, okay, here, we're gonna give you this Alchemy set to like change it up, so you don't have to play the same format for the next 5 months. Oh, thank God. But yeah, I think now with like Explorer, people have walked away. Yeah, you're right. You might be right. Like maybe at the 35-year anniversary of Magic, we're talking about the fact that there's not been a Standard set released in 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's just like Masters and Horizon sets and Commander sets.
Oh, don't forget Universes Beyond.
But for the most part, our Universes Beyond sets fall into like the construct of a Commander product, a Secret Lair, or a Horizon product, right?
Right.
There's not
like if there's no Standard set though, what's the difference between a Horizons product and a normal product? In which case, why couldn't you do 2 Universes Beyond sets every year and 2 Horizon sets every year with some supplemental products and just like randomly select what formats they're going to be legal in?
I mean, fair.
I need a Teletubbies set. I want Universes Beyond Teletubbies, and I want it to be legal in Vintage, and that's it.
In only Vintage.
I don't want it to be legal in Legacy. I don't want it to be legal in Commander. I just want Teletubbies in Vintage, and I want a 300 card set.
I'm going to say something that should never have been said, but here we go. Play Black Lotus, sack it, cast my Tinky Winky.
Sack my Tinky Winky. Play the sun.
Sack my Tinky Winky, get Blight Steel. Attack with Blight Steel, kill you.
Yeah.
I know no other Teletubbies other than Tinky Winky. That's why I had to go get a Blight Steel. So when you asked me to do mental magic with Teletubbies, I knew one Teletubby.
Tinky Winky.
I used him early on. So there you go. Or like sack my
on
Tinky
that
Winky.
Note.
put Loras onto the battlefield, recast Black Lotus.
Oh. Play
But yeah.
Shadowfax.
Shadowfax?
Yeah.
Is that another Teletubby?
No, it's Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay. You said Shadowfax, and the first thing I thought was a dark evil fax machine.
No, Lord of the Rings. You gotta mix your universes, man. You can't just have one universes. You need to go beyond.
Apparently. 28 years of like lore.
Blood for the Blood God.
Like, we're out. Yeah, Blood of the Blood God. PK did a whole video on like, this is a sick card name. It's so good. I don't know what people are talking about. It's great. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, whatever.
So, Mark, What does the blood god want? He wants blood, man! Give him blood! So this card's Blood of the Blood God? Yeah, man, it's great! Most exciting set ever! It's like, alright, Mark, thanks.
Yep.
Here's a key bump. Keep up that energy, man.
Oh, man.
So, one day I just went like Mark to do an interview. It's like, so Mark, what do you think about the set? It's really not our best work. Really kind of disappointed.
Best-selling set of all time, but I really didn't like it at all.
Really
it was
like
garbage. It was just cards that were stuck under my desk. We didn't know where else to put them.
Exactly. So I had this idea 45 years ago before Magic happened. So
back when I still had my body and I wasn't just a head in a jar.
Yeah, here's. Yeah, that's what Hasbro is using all this money for. They we gotta keep Mark alive forever.
Yeah.
All right. He'll be in the Hall of Dead Designers.
Yeah, right next to the Hall of Dead Presidents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, with all of that, with the demise of Standard, and while getting rid of Standard is not something that I think we believe will happen, I think that it's obvious that they have downplayed its importance.
At the very least, the focus has shifted, and I think it's shifted I don't know if significantly is the right word, but it's definitely less important than it was at some point.
And the slippery slope argument is just the whatever. The complete Street Fighter set for instead of a standard set.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, who knows?
Pioneer Horizons Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat.
Exactly. Get over here. That was my Vega at the end.
Yeah. Hadouken!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could have picked Hadouken. Hey, some people knew. But for some reason, I went with Vega jumping off the fence. But yeah, so they're gonna... But yeah, so with all of that, I think we have a show.
That was a show, and some rambling,
That was a show.
It was a show.
So, if you want to tweet us your ideas for things to do on the show, please get at us in our links. All of our links are in the description below.
Yeah, there's a link down there for Twitter, Facebook, our email, an invite to our Discord server. Make sure you check that out. It was pretty random that we had a big, long, completely relevant to this episode conversation minutes before we started recording. So it was kind of weird.
in Discord.
Yeah. So make sure you hop in there, check that out. If you want to support the show, we got two ways to do it. Number one is pretty passive. If you use our TCG player affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Anything you purchase after following that link will help support the show. We'll get a cut of. More directly, you can hit us up on Patreon, patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. If you think we do a good job, if you like this sort of content, chip a couple bucks in, help us out. Support us through Patreon, get access to our pre-show, get access to our show notes. Occasionally I send some swag out in the mail. You'll get on my mailing list for that. And we would really appreciate it. More important than all of that, we would appreciate it. So hit us up on Patreon. We got our tournament coming up. Make sure you head over to MTG Melee and sign up for a tournament. That'll be the beginning of June. We got our YouTube, where you can look at our smiling faces as we ramble on and on about the death of Standard or whatever other topic we happen to be talking about. I don't think I have anything else, do you?
I don't think so either. So with that, we'll catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internets.